Welcome to the Greatness Garage Podcast, the place where small businesses get big answers. I'm your host, Brad Borkus, founder of Epitome Coaching and Consulting, and this is the Greatness Garage. Welcome everyone back to the Greatness Garage. We're so happy to have you here. I've got my dear friend Jarid Lundeen, just a wonderful, great man. And we're so excited to have today's conversation. Jarid, introduce yourself to the Greatness Garage.
I appreciate that, Bradley. You know, I've always called you Brad, and I seen your name somewhere said Bradley, and I'm like, it's just a softer version of you. So happy to be here. Always love connecting again with you, Brad. You're always just fun to be around, or Bradley. But yeah, no, I'm a kind of like a third generation business person. My grandfather was in business, my dad was in business, and here I am in business. And so it's kind of in my pedigree. There's farmers, ranchers, people that I'm around all the time that are, you know, multi-generational. And I just think that we're destined to be in business, you know. And so I've got 6 children, live in North Dakota, Minot, North Dakota, the great town of Minot. Yeah, I mean, I own numerous businesses, and, you know, if you want to, you know, get into that, I will say this, Brad, before I get going too far. My strength and my situation really comes from my big family. You know, I mean, we talked a little bit offline beforehand, but having 6 children, the struggles of growing a business with 6 children has really tested me in every situation. And so, like, really, that's my Hercules. Is my, you know, my kids are my Hercules, and that's really what's kind of time tested me to be a better leader, a better person. The patience of having a big family, and the aggressiveness to try to grow my business from what was a very small business, and it's slowly becoming a much larger business. And so I started out in the tire business. Well, actually, I started out, you know, in the restaurant business. And my first dream, and my dad always asked, you know, what's your goals in life? What do you want to do? And I'm going to be a restaurant guy. And my dad had a body shop, and so I was going to be a restaurant guy. And so when I went to Minot High, I took every cooking class you could. When Morehead State called me for me to play football, we were going to go hotel restaurant management there. That was my lane. And then I was going to go to Johnson in Wales and become a chef. And I was going to own restaurants. That was always my dream. That's cool. And then, you know, life throws curveballs at you. And I came back to Minot State and got a business management degree, and worked in restaurants, and graduated, and opened up a restaurant, from scratch restaurant, a family restaurant, The Dugout, and was the opening bar manager there. And looked at my wife when she was pregnant with our first child, Jackson, and I said, I'm going to be a fat restaurant manager if I don't change lanes here pretty quick. I'm gonna be the guy that I used to hang out with, that would smoke cigarettes on breaks outside and be overweight. And I just didn't want to be that guy. So I was lucky enough to get out to Wells Fargo and became a CM, or a credit manager, and became branch manager within 2 years. And my dad called me and said, I'm going to buy this tire store. I want you to get involved. And I was like, no. And so after 3 attempts, I finally negotiated the deal of the century for me, and said, in 10 years, I get to buy you out. My brother Jay is in business, and that agreement actually went for Jay too, which is probably a bigger deal for Jay than it was for me, because I would have walked away and did my own thing. And I was always going to be involved in business, my own business. This just helped me out a lot, because, but Jay's lane, my brother's lane, there was no 10-year agreement. My dad would have stayed in that business forever. So I actually, Jay, you owe me big time to get you to become independent, because without me, you'd be still shackled.
You'd be still meddling in that, right?
You would be. You'd be working for a family business and not be the owner of a family business.
Well said.
So, yeah, that's really the start of it all. That was in 2000, and, you know, I started my 25th year of being in that business, and we've got a lot of fun things going on.
That's so cool. Well, and you look at, like, I love what you said about how the family anchors you as your Hercules. It really kind of gives you so much in that. And it always reminds me when I hear that, and even with my own kids, is that, you know, we say, "Dear Lord, give me patience," and the dear Lord gives you opportunities to practice your patience, you know, and what a beautiful opportunity, huh?
Yeah, no, I live off very little sleep. I wanted to make sure I was involved in everything that there was ever with my kids. I coached them all the way through every single sport. You know, so I mean, really get in, and I wanted to have a life balance too. So I still got my workouts in, I still did my work, and I still coached their sports. the only thing you gave up on is sleep during that time. As my kids get older, that's one thing I really appreciate. I slept in my office a lot back then. I mean, 15-minute
Oh,
naps,
yeah.
and so now I sleep a lot better, which is nice as they've gotten older, and most of them have moved out. I've only got two at home right now, a 12-year-old and a 16-year-old, and the rest of them are out of the nest, finishing college, done with college and in college. So
Very cool. Yeah, and to watch that as they grow and kind of the shift that happens for you as well, you know. So that's awesome. Oh,
100%.
and I love what you said too, you know, about, you know, in the restaurant side, like I get a lot of people when I talk in business and like, oh, I'd love to run a restaurant. And I go, no, I think you'd like to own a restaurant. I don't know if you want to run a restaurant because they are so very difficult,
Well,
you
I
know?
own a
Yeah.
restaurant, Brad, and I think you don't want to do either. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
I
Good
own a
point, right? Yeah.
restaurant. Yeah, and I thought I was so smart when I bought that restaurant.
Yep.
After 4 years of being humbled by that restaurant, I would say most people don't want to own a restaurant or work in a restaurant. They want to
Yeah.
eat at a restaurant.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and it is. It's you know, there's certain industries about that too that they're so fickle
Yep.
and they're so intensive that it's a really tough thing to slug and it's yeah, it's a challenge. So well, that's
It's
awesome.
fun. I mean, I enjoy it. I really do. But it is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of all the businesses I've done, it has been by far the most taxing. Emotionally, because it's a service where you're serving people on their anniversaries or on their
Yeah,
birthdays or a
an
date night. And
experience.
you
Yeah.
just want to make sure you hit that home run every single time. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
committed to the process as much as I am, you just don't want to let people down. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been humbling. And
Yeah.
I'm getting to the point where I kind of like it a little bit. Everything that people thought about restaurant owners, I
Yep.
may be getting there. Like I go there and have a great meal with my family, and I look around and I go, not only am I creating a local flavor for the city of Minot, a great experience for the city of Minot, we're also employing great humans that really love what they do
Mm-hmm.
every day. And
Yep.
and I have a statement that I've kind of lived by within my team, and we call it sanctuaries of normalcy. And that's really, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
what that is in, like I kind of traditionally look back at the 60s and the 70s of those traditional jobs of people like loving what they do and their career focused on from day one to to the retirement. And that's what I've been trying to create this entire time is sanctuaries of normalcy where people kind of come in and everything's normal. Like it's like
Yeah.
there's just not the we. I don't have a bad boss that hates me and is
Yep.
stifling my success because
Yep.
his ego won't get out of the way. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
and that's what I've been doing for 25 years is creating sanctuaries of normalcy for great humans to find a great career path where they can be fed every single day. And I've got team members that this has been their first job, numerous only job they've ever had,
Mm-hmm.
and they're managers in my system, and they're inspired, and I'm responsible for that journey, and
Yep.
I love it. I love it to death.
And what a beautiful responsibility and blessing, isn't that? Is that our responsibility, as I say sometimes, is to hold the space and make sure that we're all inside that treating each other with respect and love. And
Yep.
if we can do that, then people can grow as they need to grow and move as they need to move, right? So
Yes. Yeah. No.
that's
It's
awesome.
and as we expand and create more opportunities, they can shift gears and find a different lane. If they're hey, I love where I'm at now, but in 10 years they've grown out that we want to create a big enough organization where they can shift and go somewhere else. But
Yep.
as long as I'm alive and breathing, it's always going to be a sanctuary of normalcy where people are treated with like a lot of respect and they're just inspired to come to work because we're serving people every day. And in a world
Yep.
where you can get your underwear at your front door and your hamburger at your front door, I'm in businesses where we actually touch people every day, and we love
Every
that.
Yep, yep, yep. And people that appreciate that ability versus that job of having to get to
Correct.
deal with people, right? Yep, yep. So
Because why
yes.
did it be early? Because
Yep.
well, you got to be early
Yep.
because the customer expects you to be early on time. And why do I wear my uniform?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
because there's people that are looking at you every day, and we have an expectation here.
Yep.
So
Yep. And it just, you know, when you look at that too, I always, when I see that, I always appreciate what Disney does. That like that to create that's such it's such a high expense that it's got to be such a high deliverable that it's got to be. So it's kind of really impressive to watch that, isn't it? You know, so
Well, Disney is a high expense. I
that's
went
what I'm
there
saying.
like that was like
That's a
3 years
massive
ago.
expense, right? Yeah,
Wow. With the Universal. That is real. That is a real
yeah,
expense.
yeah. You
I couldn't even afford that fast pass thing. I was like, are you kidding me?
exactly.
So
Oh, yeah. And then you got to cry through every little drink and toy and
yes,
stuff as they go through it.
I
Yeah.
don't mind a $10 Coke, but to
Yeah.
get the fast pass and not spend 3 hours when you have one day there, I mean,
Oh,
I don't know, it's like a boat. You're like buying a boat. You're like you're, you're buying a motorcycle, you know?
right. Oh, yeah, it
There's
sure
eight
is.
of us.
So
Remember that. That's the
I know
difference.
that's right.
It's like it's us and it's 4 of us. It's me. It's eight. So I I didn't I didn't buy a motorcycle that day. I just we stood in line.
You sweated for it instead, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we muscled through it. It was
Oh,
over Christmas. I'm not going back. So
you did it. Check, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh shoot. Well, that's awesome. So we'll jump in. So the first segment that we get to jump into is I wish I would have. I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have done less of. I wish I would have done different. And this is just a great opportunity for everyone to kind of listen and learn vicariously through, let's say, our mistakes or our lessons and learns, and maybe get a step ahead of it. So, Jared, take it away.
yeah. Well, if I was 28 or 38, I'd be coming to you and saying to you, I wish I would have, I wish, and I can't give advice on this one as well as I'd like to because I've been able to see what was a horrible, stressful, painful situation unfold into huge opportunities. And I
Mm-hmm.
sat
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, you asked me this question and I queued on it a little bit, and I couldn't come back to anything that I would change really in my situation. I mean, I'll give you some examples of situations where I was just naive,
Mm-hmm.
egocentric, bullish, blah blah blah. And one of them was I bought a piece of real estate. And so, Brad, I have been pushing my chips in ever since day one. My first business that I owned was a tire store, but before that, I
Yep.
owned some rental property in the city of Minot. And
Yep.
so I bought it in '08. My wife and I, we leveraged and we got it done. And we had these 6 apartments, and we would go there and we'd clean them and we'd paint them and we'd make them nice. And we were so excited to have something extra. And there was no extra from it other than the fact that we knew that we had something that was extra.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, and then I got the opportunity in 2010 to buy my dad out, and I bought this business, and this business just happened to go through a flood. And so that would be a great thing. But for me, my properties got decimated in that flood. They got
Mm-hmm.
destroyed. I did not buy flood insurance. And so I had to spend $50,000 to destroy those properties. And I sat there and making a payment every month to the mortgage on this land that I owned in the city
Oh.
of Minot. And then in my business in 2010, I had been working for 10 years to make this time so great for me. I was so
Mm-hmm.
excited for like I'm gonna own my own business. I'm own my own business. So I personally I saved money and I wasn't paid a lot, working for my dad. I was paid a fair salary at the end, but it wasn't enough to have any extra cash. And I walked into this business with large payables, large inventory fluctuations, cash short. And you'd think like an oil boom and you'd think a flood was good for us. Well, half the city got flooded out.
Right.
Labor was a huge problem. So pain on that side. And then I got this property that's flooded. So fast forward to 2015, the city of Minot bought those properties out, and they bought them out at full, like as if the property was there as part of the
Oh
deal.
wow.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
get this windfall of cash. So I'm going to build a brand new location in North Bismarck. It's my second location I'm going to own. I'm so excited. I push all in, and it just so happens I'm working through SBA, and I got this huge building getting built that I'm completely leveraged to the tilt on. And there's a covenants on the property
Oh
that
no.
says it cannot be commercial. 3 days before closing, I've got the construction company. I've signed all the paperwork. The steel building is there. The construction team has started to mobilize. It's the fall year. I'm pushing. We're going to close. Don't worry. We're going to close. And we have to stop the progression And from that point on, I I went forward and I I had to stop thing. Luckily, the construction company said, "Hey, we're not going to charge you right now. We're just going to you just pay the interest every month on this amount, and we're going to be fine." I back out, and I had to hire what I call a cowboy attorney to go
Mm-hmm.
out and get thousands of signatures because this particular owners group had it so ironclad. There was 8 of them, and they said none of us could go outside of our covenants without 100% authority, without 100%. Uh, uh, so I had to,
So,
but the Dakota had a thing that it only could go 80. So I hired a cowboy attorney and his landman, and we went around for the next 18 months and got those signatures. And so we paid it. Another guy and I had the same problem. We split $100,000 of legal expense plus all the pain. But you know
yeah.
what, Brad?
Hmm.
To opening that store in 2019 versus 2017 saved me so much pain because I learned so much in that 2 years that
Mm.
was God's way of saying to me, "You're not ready." At the
Yep.
time, I was stressed out, throwing up, not sleeping, and that was the "you're not ready." I was over leveraged. That would have been a disaster. I probably
Yeah.
would have failed, and that was just me being prideful. My second example of that is when I bought the South Bismarck store from my father. I was so egocentric. He gave me 40 days to figure out the loan closing on this deal. And I was like, "You're not going to show me. You got me 40 days. I'll get it done." I didn't do any due diligence, thinking that I didn't have to. And my dad, in his wisdom or his shysterness, left me with all the accounts payable, not paid. It wasn't in the purchase agreement. So I walked in from a business that was run really poorly, that I was no longer part of, and I'm buying this other tire store, and I had $100,000+ of payables due January 20th when I bought it January 1st. And his statement to me was, "Next time you better read the documents. I don't care if I'm your father or not." We negotiated our way out of that deal.
Yeah.
Guess what? I read the documents now.
Well, I was just gonna say you remembered it, right?
And
Yeah.
to this day, everything I sign, I go, "Oh,
Hmm.
I remember that one time." And there's nothing more personal than your father doing something like that to you. And if you're not a business person, you take that personally, like, how could you?
Right. Yeah.
But if you come from the lane that I come from, business has never been personal. It's just
Yeah.
not built that way. There's relationships within the business that are personal, and we sure hope those flourish and are awesome. But if you are not aware that business isn't personal, then you're probably in the wrong lane, and you probably should go to
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because
I
it's
mean,
you're going to bring too much to every decision, every agreement, every relationship. Then really it clouds it, doesn't it? Yeah.
it
Yeah.
100% clouds it. And as much as I'm in love with my team and as much as I'm in love with the idea of business, I still know this thing is an animal that will turn on me at any point in time, and I have to
Yeah.
be keenly aware of how vicious it can be.
Yeah.
And so
Well
it's
said.
not a personal thing. It's a survival thing. It's the boat is floating, and we have to maybe push somebody out of the boat to keep this business moving forward. And it can't be
Yeah.
personal. And that
Yeah.
person's a great human. I mean, I've let go of people. We've cried, we've hugged, and we've parted ways because
Yeah.
it's just that's how things are. And
Yeah.
it's tough, but that's reality. That's the business world.
Well, and you look at it too, right? Like, and the other one, the boat's a great example. Or I also use a plane that says, we can't take ourselves at the expense of the plane because then we all go down, or in the boat we all
100%.
perish. And it is really tough to do that. It's funny in our family business, we actually had a discussion that we were a family that ran a business, or we are a business run by a family. And so it's interesting too. If you say we're a family that runs a business, there's all this stuff you bring into it. But if you're saying it's a business run by a family, then it's understanding that it's business first, and these decisions are made. And there's difficult decisions there, isn't there? Yeah, yeah,
Oh man, 100%. And I've got, and my dad, I mean, I think his goal for us was always to be in a business, family business. I mean, that was his goal. That
yeah,
wasn't my goal. I worked with
yeah,
him. I didn't want to be around that. That's not
yeah,
who I am. I mean, a lot
yeah,
of what's driven me and put that, the bit in my mouth has been kind of a rage against the machine mentality of I grew up in a family business
Yeah.
where it was like we're gonna browbeat people to get them to come along with us. And I'm like, there's got to be another way, and it's more intentional and it takes a lot longer. And that's really where we're at now. We are on fire with this because it's actually working. It takes 25 years. You can't build
Hmm.
that culture in a vacuum in a day or a week or a month.
No.
You got to build it over the course of time, and it's tested all the time. And so I love the fact that no offense, but I was in a mixed environment, but mostly it was done by fear,
Yep.
never done
Yep.
by greater understanding.
And it's great. There's a and I like you say kind of the raging against the machine, and really I think there's this part is the blessings that are the lessons of our fathers, mothers and fathers, but that comes before us. And it's interesting is I created the alignment method, and the alignment method is really based on very clear communication of the expectations. Because I also remember that my dad would say sometimes, like, "Oh, watch, they're going to make this mistake." And I always thought, well, why wouldn't we stop them and tell them and educate
Correct.
them before they did it? But there was this part that said you're going to learn from the mistake and you're going to learn from the pain. And it unfortunately it's there's just a generational learning of that. And it's really interesting as I go through and work with people on their stories of origin and why do we react this way. And it's interesting, like you said, some will attract towards that style, and some will, like us, will repel from it. And it's interesting, like my parents always set their clocks 15 minutes fast, yet they were still always late. And it's funny that myself, I am like I cannot be late. Like for me, being late is really difficult for me to deal with. But my other brothers have a different relationship with time than I do, and so we saw the same experience but reacted to it differently. And so it's kind of funny that you see how everyone goes through it and experiences it, and those lessons that come from it. But yeah, it's what a blessing, right? To have that experience to say, it's really important to know what we want, but really important to know what we don't want as well, right?
Correct. And Brad, where are you
Yeah.
at in the hierarchy? There's three boys in your family, right? Were you the oldest?
I'm in the middle. I'm in the middle, and and that really, yeah. And so that it's interesting as I came back to the family business, we had some really difficult discussions in that structure as I stepped into the role that I had, and we had to make the
Yeah.
business go, and really had to find out and really strip the birth order from it, strip the family from it, and say where do we each serve and thrive best. And so my brother went from a kind of an operations director of operations position to a sales position. My older brother to a sales position, and flourished. I mean, he is an amazing, right? And
Yeah.
he was struggling over in this area because it's just the way that dealing with people sometimes is difficult. And so he just on the sales side, he did an amazing, wonderful job. And so finding where we can thrive and being able to strip that family away from it, even though we love each other as a family, but stripping that judgment and kind of obligatory
Ego.
status that goes with it. Exactly. Exactly. Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you can clean one thing up, and it's none of us are there, but is you can wash your ego every day. I think you're in a way better spot. I mean,
Yep.
people always want advice. I'm like, wash your ego. Just wash your
Yep.
ego, and then you'll see the world a lot clearer. And
Yep.
so as a
And I
crazy
think that in,
Christian,
in
that's
the
the way.
honoring of that, go ahead, say again.
Oh God, no, you're good.
Yeah. So as
Oh,
they, but as
Bradley.
they say, so as they say that too, that wash and remind, like there's a saying that Zig Ziglar used to say, somebody told him one time, like motivation doesn't work, and he goes, like showering, we recommend it daily, and the same thing with washing your ego, it's gonna come up, it's the ego is simply the way we see ourselves, and so allowing yourselves to recalibrate, recenter, realign it towards a core center, your faith, your values, recentering it and understanding that the ego can simply be a representation, doesn't have to be a pole or a driver in that space, right? So
Love it.
yeah, that's all. So as we go on, I think too, in that wish I would have, I think I hear this. I wish I would have listened to God's message a little closer earlier on. But like, I'm so glad that you said it in that way because it reminds us to look for to understand that. the phrase "this too shall pass,"
Yep.
and there's a reason for the season. And really being able to believe in that and have faith in that, that God has a good plan for us. And I love that lesson, just kind of saying, "Yep, check it in," right?
Well, the thing about it is a lot of young people nowadays, and I don't know who, is all listening to you. And, if I had any message, I don't have a good message because, like, how do you pick, when you look back in your, like I wake up every single day blessed. Like, I mean, I'm an
Hmm.
American. Like, that's the first blessing. Like, you
Yep.
can't hurt me. I'm an American, first of all.
Yep.
If I've got the opportunity to own a business and I fail, wow, you're not crying for me.
Yep.
Like, are you kidding me? There's
Yep.
Americans that are, in food lines or whatever it is. And if you have
Yep.
enough talent and ability to open up a business, well, then you shouldn't. I'm not going to feel bad for you. So those two things right there, in
Yep.
my experience, if you're engaged in business and you're feeling pain or you're not getting where you want to get to, well, I would definitely look in the mirror. And I think one of the things that I look at all the time is, are you really right for what you're doing? Are you really in the
Yep.
right lane? And
Yep.
only time will tell. But I'm in the lane of getting my butt kicked over and over and over. I run retail businesses. Like, and
Yep.
I compete with Amazon, Sam's Club, Costco every single day. And guess what? I whoop their
Yep.
ass.
I'm
You know why?
exactly.
Because I understand my people, my product, and my position in the market. And
Yep.
if you don't understand those three things at a very high level and are not in a position to actually win those wars, and you're over here whining because you can't get it done, well, maybe you should reflect on if you're in the right lane or not, because
And
maybe you're
I
in the wrong lane.
absolutely right. And there's a again, watch that eagle. That
Correct.
that you may see that this is, and it's interesting as you look at it, when we sold our distribution business, our business was doing well, but we saw the movement of the market to, the company that we sold out to was 750, 800 million at the time, is now well over a billion, couple $1 billion. And so like that, we just didn't have the space to continue that journey. And it's
Correct.
okay.
That's
This
right.
was the end of that
That's
season. And
fine.
that's the time. Yep. And so we went on and we get to do our next blessing that we get to do. So, yep, I love it.
Yeah. I'm going to pop a fresca.
I
And,
like it.
and if we can't, yeah, I mean, the business world has gotten pretty volatile. I mean, there really is, but there's also niches and riches. There's riches and niches, and that's where
Always. Yep.
I think that's the greatest thing going on right now in business in America is there's a lot of niches out there where there can be a lot of success, and people
Yep.
can taste those, and they are, and they're super successful. I
Yep.
happen to be in a fact that we're in a growth mode, and I've got kids that are getting to the point where they're going to be fit. My deal with my kids is 2 to 3 years, go work for someone else after they graduate from
Yes.
college. And so
Yep.
my oldest son Jackson came back recently, but of the five that'll probably move on to, I think they all five want to maybe come back now. They're interested in what I got going on. So, hey,
What a
get a
cool
hold of me
thing.
in like 6 years, and I'll tell you about that rodeo.
Yeah, right. That'll be a next one. I love that one. So,
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome. All right. So as we transition to the next one, I love this one. It's like, you aren't going to believe this, right? And I'm sure as in retail, the number of stories of stuff of people showing up, leaving, deals going upside, even this one you mentioned already. All right. I'm ready to hear this. You aren't going to believe this. Let me hear what you got.
All right. Well, to be honest with you, you're not going to believe it. Is honestly what I was really honestly, Brad, originally was my dad and that whole Bismarck purchase.
Hmm.
But I mean, in my industry, there's a ton of you're not going to believe this moments, um, and most of them are actually pretty darn good.
Yep.
I mean, we're on the path to grow. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a strong that business thing with my dad is the one that kind of sticks in my is like can you believe that your dad would uh,
Yep.
leave payables out of the purchase agreement intentionally to teach you a lesson?
Yep.
Can you imagine that situation? Who would ever thought that was going to be the case? That
Yep.
your own father would change or alter the purchase agreement or just not put it in the purchase agreement that the
Yep.
payables had to be paid before the day you acquire the business. So
Well, and
yeah,
you look at this stuff and the lessons that come from like too, like you said, reading through, but also too, um, you know, who do you let write the agreement? Right? Like, do you let them start with it, or do you get first draft and cut it and say, hey, here's the, like, what does
I
it look
didn't
like, right?
care. For me, it was
Yep.
just about owning the business because
Yep.
I wanted to be out of Minot and in Bismarck with two locations. My goal was always to grow it. Bismarck, of course, is the capital city of North Dakota, and I wanted to get in that
Yep.
market as bad as I could. I wanted to own that store so I could, steer the direction of that business. So I was so blinded by that I didn't take the time to just slow down and actually look at
Yeah.
things. And the other thing about that is, believe this one once, Brad. I mean, my dad opened a restaurant post retirement, in Minot from
Hmm.
scratch. I mean, in today's day and age, and he went through COVID, and I was kind of like mentoring him and working with him on that restaurant. So during COVID, I was helping him trying to find a manager, and he starts his business from scratch. And then I bought the darn thing. You know, could you believe that one? So of course I read the agreement that time, but I
There.
mean,
Yep.
he's got this great sauce business that he created all these sauces from scratch. And
Hmm.
you had them before, Brad? Have you ever tried the Bones barbecue
Yes, I
sauce?
have. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think it's fantastic. And so, like, initially I was like, I'm going to buy it and I'm going to market the sauce. And I'll probably say that we are in every grocery store in North Dakota now with that sauce.
Very
Um,
cool.
we're working on all kinds of cool initiatives with the state of North Dakota on building it to be
Hmm.
the number one barbecue sauce in North Dakota, hands down. I mean, that's my goal, and I've
Yep.
got about 16 months left to finish it. But could you believe that, that little business from the same guy was started off at just a little small, traveling truck is now a big business that we're looking to hopefully grow more locations with it. I mean,
That's
who would
awesome.
have thought, and I can't believe
Well,
I'm in the
and
restaurant
it's the
business.
beautiful the power of, like, when you look at your dad too, and like and the lesson that, like, the other lessons that came from, but that that entrepreneurial spirit that's there, that just says, well, of course I'll just create a business myself. Like, and to other people it's like, you create a business, like, to them it's so foreign, and us being the blessing of growing up in that is like, yeah, of course you would start your own. Yeah, right.
66
Yep.
years old. He's
That's awesome.
76 now, and he's been in the hospital. He was in intensive care, took my ambulance, all these things in the last couple of weeks here, and he's getting healthy. And every day he gets to the restaurant. He's no longer the owner. He gets the restaurant's food and calls me and gives me a critique of how the food is.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Well, awesome for you to listen to the story. I got
I
to
know, that's
listen
what I was
to
gonna
it. Yeah,
say.
I gotta listen to it. I gotta listen to him say the ribs are dry. They're not doing this and that this and God. And he cuss every 5 words and he's just uberly intense.
Yep.
And so yeah,
Oh, I love it.
I'm kind of curious where this Bones Barbecue journey goes. I mean, I'm not
Yep.
sure, but I've been, everyone wants me to move more locations, more locations. And I'll say this: we're never going to grow to be a franchise while I'm at the helm. We're always going to own
Yep.
the businesses we're in because we want to control the product, we want to control the process, and
Yep.
and I love it from that side of it because barbecue is really kind of big right now. I mean, you're living in
Mm-hmm.
Texas, so it's always been
Mm-hmm.
big in Texas, but everybody's got a Traeger, just kind of like the propane grill was back in the 70s. Everybody's,
Yep.
for the first time in their life, they used to do charcoal and they'd wait an hour and they'd have a steak every now and then, or they pan fried their steaks. People got used
Yep.
to, now it's the same thing. They've got a taste for barbecue, and we happen to be in the right lane for that situation. So,
That's cool.
and the big boys are going away. They're all getting kind of crushed by just the weight of the restaurant business.
Yep.
So there's opportunity. There's
Well,
riches
and
and
I what I love about what you're saying too, like, so in understanding, like you said, are you right for it? In the franchise model, if you're going to franchise, your joy is in the analytics. It's in the
correct.
process and the details and the this and the this, not necessarily in the joyful experience. But when you're
Correct.
in the store and you own the store, it's my people's, it's John who comes in every Thursday. It's that relationship and it's just a different thing. You can't do the one store thing. I mean, it's very difficult to go to 500 stores. On the franchise model, it's difficult to walk into one and go, "Oh, it's John." It's just a different thing, And so just knowing what that is, right? Yeah.
Well, for me, it's more important to put a manager there, give them an equity stake, and then
Mm-hmm.
profit share with all the team members that are there. So that's
Yep.
that's one of the things that I think I do differently. I mean, one of the things that I think it was a question I'd seen. What is my goal? My goal is to make my staff extremely wealthy in the retail world.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
honestly, and we've put a lot of
Yep.
layers in on that, so that way they're all, like, I mean, as a single owner, I mean, it's kind of unique because you can do things other people can't do. And I think it's, if
Yeah.
you're a 20-year-old entrepreneur, I'll say this to you: if you don't have a global view that the talent is the most important part of your business, I don't,
Hmm.
you might be a genius in software, then that's not the case. But if you're going to do anything retail or restaurant, your team makes you better, and be
Yeah.
willing to share that as much as possible, because without it, you're pretty much not going to be successful.
Well, like even what you said though, if you're a whiz in this thing, you can be a consultant, but that there's a limit to that structure. But if you want to
Correct.
grow the business of consultancy or the business in anything, it's got to be the people. It's got to be that leverage, and it's got
It's
to
going
be
to
a
have
good.
it's going to have some type of profit sharing mechanism in there,
Yep.
because people are too wise. Your good talent's going to go somewhere else, because
Yep.
they're going to be like, there's opportunity out there. I mean, our population's aging. There's a huge, the baby boom thing is real, and talent is an
Hmm.
issue right now. And so
Yep.
if you can get ahead of that talent, you're in a good spot. There's
Yeah.
actually sun in North Dakota. I got the
Right, you're
sun
getting a
coming
little
out.
sun in the northern that northern
I
sun. I
know.
like it.
I'm gonna get a little
So
tan here.
but you said that too. Like, it's interesting. I love what you're looking at, and I work with a lot of clients as well to get to this point where, even in our business, before I sold that business, the distribution business, I didn't want anyone to say, Brad pays me. I want them to go, I got everything. Like I earned that dollar, whatever that was, I earned it, and to feel pride in the fact that they worked hard and earned it and deserve it. And
100%.
that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Yep. So yeah, I
Yes.
want to see people make a ton of money and
Correct.
feel like they earned it and go, and we all win,
And
So
yep,
yeah.
100%.
That's awesome. So the
Love it.
final segment is aligned language. It's, what is the words, the quote, the mantra that kind of guides you through or keeps you steady or helps alleviate, bring on the vision. What is some aligned language that you use in your business or in your life?
Kick ass, take names. You
I love
know,
it. Okay.
that's my dad's statement. It's honestly kind of like an old John Wayne movie. I mean, it's the kick the door down and we're gonna come in. We're gonna figure things out. That's my dad's. I always believed in work-life balance.
Yep.
And so, again, you're learning things from your predecessors. My dad's always, he's always worked to live, or live to work. He loves
Hmm.
work,
Yep.
and so, I mean, so he's going to kick the door down. He's going to muscle through it and find a way to get me successful. I still use that to this day with that work-life balance that I think is really important. So we're going to go in, we're going to create opportunities, and we're going to win this situation that we're in. Business is a battlefield, and if you don't look at
Hmm.
it that way, I think you're missing a big part of the game. If you like playing sports, I always say you'll love business. And if you're strategic in your mind, and kick ass take names is really my dad. I don't know where that even comes from. Like, who
Yep.
even talks that way? But
I
that's
know, right?
how he used to. He was a street fighter. My dad grew up as a street fighter. So like
Yep.
that's my grandma wouldn't let him play sports, and so his game was fighting. So,
Fighting.
and why would you take their name? What does that even mean? But that's my staff knows it pretty well from me as kick
Yep.
ass take names. Um, put first things first. That's and
Yep.
that's a really that's Stephen Covey was that was
Yep.
probably one of the first books
The
that really
main
kind
thing,
of,
right?
yeah, got me going. I really love
Yep.
Stephen Covey, and you know I reread his stuff all the time, or I re-listen to his stuff all the time. You know, those are some of the things that my staff knows me by.
Let me ask a
Um,
question. With Covey, what is something that would pops up the first thing, whether either the book or the quote or the
Sharpen
what
the
shows up for
saw.
you? Sharpen the saw.
I
Yep.
mean, first things first, sharpen the saw. His Seven Habits, and really, I mean, when you read that
Hmm.
book, and as a Christian man, and I know Stephen was a Christian person too.
Yep.
I really think he found that perfect balance of like professionalism and science and business, or
Yep.
just life. I'm a huge fan of Stephen Covey. I mean, honestly, been through a couple of his books, but I reread Seven Habits all the time.
Hmm.
Choose your attitude. But I mean, that's one thing that I wake up every day. I mean, I've tried to master not being controlled by my environment, and letting me control my environment.
Yep.
So I'm always, I choose my attitude. I mean, I've got a whole list of things in my drawer over here that when I was in my 20s and 30s, I'd kind of mill over. As I've gotten older, I think those things are just part of my root system. And so I don't
Hmm.
have to go back to them as often. A really cool book I just read recently, which is really good for us if you're 45 to 50, 60, is From Strength to Strength.
Oh, very
Arthur
good.
Brooks.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
love it. That's changed my mindset on a lot of things. But yeah, kick ass, take names, Brad.
Well, you know what I love about it too is I'm hearing as everybody look at like there's perspective and it's the way you hear certain things. Like there's a really cool one. So there's a book called The Four Agreements by Miguel. I think it's Miguel's last name, I think. But anyway, one of them is do your best. One of the four agreements is do your best. And I tell people you can either use that as an excuse or a calling. And so there's perspective that exists in that. And so it's funny that your dad, kick ass and take names, meant it's gonna be a fight. And but I hear in yours is always look for the opportunity. Like go in with positive and opportunity and go fight it, go get it, go energy. And so it's interesting, the same phrase with a different bit of shade to it. But and I like the fact that because there's a thing like when I work with clients too, when I first start with them, the first thing I'm going to do is accentuate their positive versus the mitigation of their negatives.
Hmm.
Because this takes a lot of time and grind. This has a quicker upside. And so as
Hmm.
you come in, and a lot of times the upside will float and cover a lot of those, those bad things. Like it, and you might have a bad location for your business, but you just give such service and love to the customers. Doesn't matter where you're located, right? And so it
Correct.
offsets that. And so I hear that from you is a way that comes in with a really beautiful optimistic energy that says let's go kick ass. And I like that. And and take names is more of a caretaking thing than it is a gotcha.
That's right. Yeah, good. I love that. I've never thought of it that way, but you're 100% right. Just by listening to me, you kind of pulled out those two conversations because my dad would muscle through it, and for me, it was
Yep.
more scientific, strategic. SWOT analysis or looking at the people, looking at the product, and trying to figure a way to do the same thing, but more on the side.
Yep. 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 And it beautifully like the different approaches we have, the silent strength versus the bombastic and each one kind of and each one attracts a different space. And so there's can be people, it's interesting when I have clients through create hiring processes through their core values. So what are the questions that you're going to ask in your hiring process? Who is the person you're looking? Because if you hire someone who is talent rich but value alignment poor, they're going to have a great start and they're going to be deep into your business and they're going to be a bomb that goes off.
Correct.
And if you can stop, and they always just say, how do you get a-holes out of your business? You don't let them in. And so the
Correct.
better that front door is, the more that it creates that. And so it's understanding who you are. So then you can let in the right people that let that person in, right? So
You.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, well, awesome.
That's
Well,
good.
Jared, I want to thank you so much for the blessing that you gave us today, in the wisdom, in the insight, in the stories, in the laughs. I appreciate you so very much, and I appreciate your time.
Oh, absolutely, Brad. Thanks for asking me, and it's really good to connect. And thanks for doing this. It's always fun to hear stories, and I was milling through your stories, and it's just always good to hear because we're all kind of on an island. I mean, if you're
Yep.
if you're in business and you can't really talk to anybody, and you can't, it's just good to always be digging for perspective. So I appreciate you doing this.
Isn't it a thing? It's a blessing. It's a blessing and a calling for me too. Like it is. We don't get that enough time to share, and that's why the Greatness Garage exists. So
Good.
awesome. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Greatness Garage. You got a great one. Enjoy. Remember, action is what makes this information all worth it. If you need help figuring out what that action is, go to callwithbrad.com and we'll get some clarity and help you figure out what that should be.